Hey guys, welcome to Get Busy Watching. I'm your host, Honest Dan. Let's talk movies. Doing some major catching up, so let's hit it. It's cute enough, albeit sappy. The movie hints that maybe his celebrity status is something of a burden on him, that he has a temper, that he didn't have the best relationship with his sons when they grew up. But you don't really see that in the character that's being portrayed on the screen. Only his gentle, wholesome nature, which sadly feels disingenuous. Maybe that's how the man was in real life, but good writing isn't about teasing us about a real man's struggles. It's about showing it. With all that said, I adored the commitment to making the world a Mr. Rogers miniature set during the scene transitions, and the acting is fine from everyone, from Matthew Rhys, Chris Cooper, and Susan Kelechi Watson. Sadly, the movie is very predictable. Troubled father-son relationship that have to make up and forgive each other and basically ends how you think it will. It's pretty by the numbers. Overall, not a bad film. I will say that if you like Tom Hanks, if you enjoy the subject matter, Mr. Rogers, then you'll enjoy yourself just fine. My honest rating for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, a strong 3 out of 5. This one I like, and a perfect pitch, stars Ian McKellen, Helen Mirren, and they are superb together. It's so funny to see McKellen as Roy and having this dual performance of being this slimy, ruthless thief, but at the same time being this dorky, charming lover's man toward Mirren's character, Betty. I suppose there's an argument that Roy could be trying too hard to play the quirky guy that Betty falls for, but I think that's just because we, the audience, already know his true intentions from the start. About the only real problem that I have with the flick is that the movie does stop cold to give us flashbacks to when these characters were younger, and it just feels extraordinarily out of place. This could be a result of the book that this movie is based on, in that it doesn't lend itself well to being a film adaptation. I wager the book does a better job of blending the present with the past, because in the film, the past is just two scenes. Overall, this film has stellar acting. McKellen is clearly having a ball playing this role. Mirren is adorable. The plot is mostly pretty good up until the end where it gets a little rocky, but the final shots of this movie make it oh so worth seeing. My honest rating for The Good Liar, a 4 out of 5. The best movie I saw over the weekend. It just feels like the ultimate middle finger to corporations and how they have to have everything their way and the artist has to suffer for it. Carroll Shelby and Ken Miles fighting against interference from Ford and just allow them to do their job and make the fastest car for the race. Sometimes their efforts fail, causing rifts in the friendship between Shelby and Miles, but other times they're successful. The climax is actually where the plot is at its juiciest because the race isn't the only conflict, as corporate Ford continues to try and interfere with how Carroll and Miles conduct the race and even hinder it as they're about to win, all for corporate reasons. The occasional tech babble gets confusing and I almost conk out while they talk about car parts and I couldn't give a shit about the minute details, but the passion of the line deliveries keeps me awake. Overall, I really like this movie. It's got fantastic acting, heartfelt drama, great stakes. Definitely check this out if you get the chance. My honest rating for Ford vs. Ferrari, a 5 out of 5. I mean, it's cute, but this didn't need a theatrical release. I'll say this about the flick, I truly enjoy Emilia Clarke as Kate. She's just so freaking cute. Seriously, that smile is just a little ray of sunshine, isn't it? But she ain't the only adorable one. That honor is shared with the ever-dashing and charming Henry Golding. The acting is never the problem. I mean, what is this movie? It's a woman who let her life derail after a tragic health scare, is bouncing from couch to couch, has an attitude on her, just trying to figure out how to be okay with what happened to her. The issue for me is that it's not explored. It just turns into a romance film that completely takes focus away from the more dramatic aspects of Kate's story. I'm more interested in Kate's personal drama, not the budding romance. And I know that they tie the drama and the romance together by the end, but overall, it's okay. It's not worth rushing out to see in theaters. I say save it for a rental or a streaming service. My honest rating for Last Christmas, a 3 out of 5. God damn, y'all, I didn't think it was that bad. Is it a good movie? That's really hard to say. Naomi Scott is somehow not the most standout actress in this movie. Kristen Stewart is. You don't see her as the wisecracking smartass, and yet it's kind of a great look on her. I mean, there were a couple of decent action scenes, but yeah, there are definitely more than a few action scenes that really didn't work. So in that regard, it's pretty hit and miss. Honestly, the movie is at its worst in the opening 5-10 minutes, where it's leaning heavily on girl power by ranting about how women are more than objects for men and like to have options. You know, dialogue like that. And then right before the title screen comes up, there's just a little montage of women doing things like surfing and lifting weights. We get it. Women can do anything. Here's a stepping stool. Now kindly get off our collective backs. Thankfully, the movie doesn't consistently remain this bad. Overall, the flick is just bland, with only the performances really holding it up. I will definitely say that it's not special, and that's kind of sad to me. My honest rating for Charlie's Angels 2019 is a 3 out of 5. Who knew all it took to make a great whodunit was to make a controversial Star Wars movie? I really like this flick. It's a well-crafted mystery that throws you for more than a few great loops. I'm not sure why Daniel Craig has to put on a lame southern accent, but it's whatever because he's a lot of fun in this. Ana de Armas is adorable, and as her character grows, becomes a unique kind of badass. Smart, adaptable, naive, but empathetic, and an utter joy to follow. The rest of the performances are pretty great as well. Michael Shannon particularly stands out as this cowardly, ballless weasel of a man, which is completely different from any role he's taken before, usually playing the quiet, intense asshole. Also, seeing Chris Evans as a spoiled little shit just makes me so happy when comparing him to his roles in the Marvel movies. Overall, not a perfect film, but wholly satisfying by the end with a perfect final shot. Love it, highly recommend it. My honest rating for Knives Out, a strong 4 out of 5. Damn good film. Even the 2.5-hour runtime is its own character. You get just as tired and weary as Rob Bellot, and I mean that in the best way possible. You are outraged by the blatant corporate negligence or apathy that DuPont shows, constantly lying and weaseling their way out of legal problems through legal means. The movie sure knows how to make you mad, but it doesn't feel cheap. Even the lawyers comment that they need to change their image and do the right thing once in a while, even if it means their reputation takes a hit. Overall, it's visceral, it's gripping, it's a must-see. My honest rating for Dark Waters, a 5 out of 5. Man, I really wanted to like this, but I think it's just okay. I give credit that it's at least more original than the racially charged films of last year, where at least this time, the black victims of an asshole white cop get to live but are on the run. Originality. The performances are solid, particularly from newcomer Jodie Turner-Smith. My problem with the movie is that the writing is really lame. It's too simplistic. Even Turner-Smith and Daniel Kaluuya could not help that with all their charisma and chemistry. Also, I really didn't like Queen at the beginning. She seemed way too comfortable with the situation and seemed to know exactly what to do at every given opportunity. I half expected her to be a surprise villain. The movie tries way too hard to insert charm and cuteness to the point where it's almost annoying. Not quite, but almost. Overall, it's a well-made movie with only the performances holding it together, but the writing isn't strong and the characters are not always likable. Save it for a rental or a streaming service. My honest rating for Queen and Slim, a 3 out of 5. I don't like it. Shocker. I give credit that I got at least a couple of legit chuckles out of this, because you know in any lesser kids film, it'd be chock full of fart jokes, poop jokes, and a whole manner of my least favorite brands of humor. Thankfully, all that's down to a minimum with the exception of one scene. Honestly, the only real problem with the movie is that the humor falls flat, and that many of the comedy scenes are just pure fluff to pad out the runtime. They're more like scene transitions. It has a really strange formula of funny moment, funny moment, funny moment, weirdly dramatic scene. Funny moment, funny moment, funny moment, weirdly dramatic scene. It's jarring. The kids can be unnaturally dumb, and I feel like the movie would work better if it was animated, especially with how Keegan-Michael Key constantly pops out of nowhere like a cartoon character. Overall, I've seen worse, but it's not that funny and only kids will like it. My honest rating for Playing with Fire, a weak 3 out of 5. You know what? I really enjoyed myself here. This is one of those good old-fashioned action thrillers with a protagonist that doesn't apologize for getting the job done and isn't afraid to dish out a little attitude when someone wants to throw procedure and regulations his way. The story divides itself between the two perspectives of Detective Andre Davis and the two villains that killed 7 cops, and they're not quite on the same wavelength. Like, one is a Marine vet who's a little too trigger-happy, and the other would have preferred a less bloody affair, making him the more sympathetic of the two bad guys. And this works out great thanks to great writing and acting, and also lent itself to some staggeringly tense scenes that I really wasn't expecting. The only issue is that the tone feels a little off. On the one hand, it's trying to be that over-the-top action movie with the lone badass who can kill a room full of bad guys who can't seem to land a hit on him. Whereas other times, it feels like it's taking itself too seriously, like it's supposed to be a legit crime drama. Overall, fun action, knows what it is, and delivers. Maybe takes itself a little too seriously at times, but recommended. My honest rating for 21 Bridges, a 4 out of 5. To think I almost missed out on seeing this. To classify this as a horror film, despite it being a sequel to one of the most famous and beloved horror films of all time, feels a little inaccurate. It's closer to a drama with a horror edge to it, so don't expect too many jump scares, thank God. I love how Danny grows up to be this druggy alcoholic who steals money from women that he sleeps with and is mostly homeless. Rebecca Ferguson as the villain really stole the show for me. I love this troupe of bad guys. They're almost like addicts themselves, eating other people's shines, but they have this strange sense of community and support for one another. They're connected in such a way that when one dies, they're all affected, making us understand their motivations, but never losing sight of the fact that these are monsters who kill kids. And yes, the return to the Overlook is fantastic. Just a heads up, that's only the last 20 some odd minutes of the movie. It's not the focus. Overall, if you're a fan of The Shining, this is a wonderful follow-up. Great characters, trippy visuals, badass moments, highly recommended. My honest rating for Dr. Sleep, a 5 out of 5. I absolutely love it. Definitely a slow burn if you're not ready for it, but if you stick with it, I think you'll find an emotionally rewarding and even uplifting story. It explores the ideas of growing up in a middle-class life, where the child can have their options laid out in front of them, but the parents and the child can still make all the wrong decisions and end up ruining their own lives without realizing it. It explores the pain of picking up the pieces, the blaming of oneself over what could have been, the varying levels of grief, the duality of healthy and unhealthy coping, the strength in vulnerability, communication, and understanding, love and forgiveness, and that in tragedy, There is hope that things can get better with time and patience and that you can still find happiness. Overall, it's powerful, provocative, earnest, and emotionally driven. Yes, I cried. It's that damn good. Drop what you're doing and go see this movie if you can. My honest rating for Waves, a 5 out of 5. I like it. Shia LaBeouf has been on a roll this year, and now he's probably got the best performance of his career. The movie is based on his own experiences as a child and at his most reckless when he was an adult. How fast and loose the writing is regarding that is entirely up in the air as far as my knowledge is concerned. Regardless, his acting is stellar and loaded with layers and complexity. James bounces all over the place with his character. He's loud, aggressive, abusive, but deep down he really does love his son and wants him to grow up to be famous. But if there's anyone that gives LaBeouf a run for his money, it'd be Lucas Hedges, who delivers an explosive performance of his own that's unlike anything that he's delivered before. Intensity. Loved it. The only issue that I take with the movie is that if you watch these two stories chronologically, there'd be a whiplash in tone. Otis as a young kid to when he's a young adult, it doesn't feel like they're the same characters. Overall, spectacular acting, great writing, heartfelt. Check it out when you can. My honest rating for Honey Boy, a strong 4 out of 5. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Hope to see you soon.